Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to share my Jupyter notebook of the task I was given during the monthly internship program at Coders Ready. First, there is an introduction on the topic of the dataset, which is global terrorism. Next is the objective, which we have is to perform exploratory data analysis on the dataset global terrorism. As a security or defense analyst, my task is to find out the hot zones of terrorism. And what other security issues can you derive through this EDA? Next, we have the table of contents. Then, I have given a brief description about the dataset. The next important step is to import all the required libraries. Next, I have loaded and displayed information of the dataset using different functions like .info, .head, and .describe. Then we have to clean the data and prepare the data. I have renamed the columns for clearer meaning and easier identification. Then I created a new data frame only of the columns I will be using, and then checked for any null values in the new data frame. Then I sorted the data frame by country name and year. Next step is analysis of dataset. First, I have displayed the names of the year, country, city, region, and group with the most attacks and the most attack types. The first is the count of attacks occurring each year. Next is the visualization of which year had the highest number of terrorist attacks. As you can see here, year 2014 had the highest number of attacks, approximately 17,000. Next is number of attacks happening in each country. Next is the visualization of which country has suffered the most due to these terrorist attacks or hot zones of terrorism. Here you can clearly see that Iraq has suffered the highest. Next are the top 10 cities having the most number of terrorist attacks. Then is the visualization of which city has received the most number of attacks or hot zones of terrorism. Here you can see Baghdad has received the highest number of attacks, approximately 8,000. Next is what regions of the world has the most number of terrorist attacks. Through this plot you can clearly see that Middle East and North Africa has the highest number of attacks. Then is the count of maximum attacks carried out by terrorist groups. Then is the visualization of what are the most dangerous terrorist groups. Here you can see that Taliban tops the table and is considered as the most terrorist group which is the most dangerous. Next is what is the most used type of weapon for these attacks. Here you can see that explosives are the most used kind of weapon. Next is a pie chart of types of weapon used by terrorist groups. Here you can clearly see that 51% of the attacks are used used explosives. Next is an interactive world map indicating the countries with the highest number of attacks. Here, as you bring the cursor to a colored spot, it displays the country name, total attack count, and country code. Next is what is the most used way of attacking by terrorists. Through this pie chart, you can see that 49% terrorists use bombing or explosion as their way of attacking. Next is how many number of people are killed yearly due to terrorist attacks. This is also an interactive scatter plot. As you bring the cursor towards the colored spot, it displays the year and the amount of number of people killed. Next is a bar plot of relation between total attacks and casualties in major cities. Next is the bar plot of types of people who were majorly targeted during these attacks. Lastly, is formation of a word cloud using the motive behind the attacks and overlaying it on an image. Here first, we have created a word cloud. Then I have chosen an image to overlay the word cloud on. Then created a mask for the image and then overlaid the word cloud on the image. To the question, what other security issues can you derive through this EDA? And lastly, to conclude, here are the points to summarize the whole dataset. Thank you for your time.